I'm Gordon Baym from the University of Illinois in Urbana, where I've been a professor since 1963. I first came to Aspen actually skiing in the winter of '66, and then skiing again in winter '67, and the first time I actually came to the Physics Center was the summer of '67. Missed '68, came in '69, I think I missed '70, and then came most of the years in the '70s. Then around 1980, I started to build a house here, and that turned out to be rather expensive, and so I had to rent it out full time. But for a variety of reasons, what most important was that I was involved in a history project Los Alamos. I was spending summers in Los Alamos through most of the '80s. Then started coming back to Aspen in the '90s. I've been a regular visitor ever since. What's wonderful about Aspen is you don't come wearing labels as a solid-state physicist or an astrophysicist. It reminds me a little bit of the famous cartoon in the New Yorker of the two dogs sitting in front of the computer screen, one saying to the other, "On the internet, nobody knows you're a dog." And so even though the first summer I came as a condensed matter physicist and worked, or actually solid-state physics back then, condensed matter as a term wasn't invented, and worked on low-temperature helium properties, superfluids then. When I came back in '69, already pulsars were discovered the year before. Pulsars were discovered in '68. And this just opened a wide area of physics problems for people in really all areas. And so I originally began working on condensed matter properties, expected condensed matter properties of neutron stars. Neutron stars were believed and are the engines that are in the interior of pulsars. And so during the summer of '69, David Pines, Chris Pethick, and I worked hard on understanding states of superfluidity in the interiors of neutron stars, understanding the electrical conductivity, which is very important for measuring the rate at which the magnetic flux will move around. And we ended up publishing two very, very lovely papers that have endured over the years. And then also we began talking to Mal Ruderman that same summer about pulsars, speed-ups, these things called glitches. There was one observed at that time in the pulsar Vela, and Mal had this very nice explanation in terms of starquakes. And so we worked out many details of that as well. So that really was my beginning as a card-carrying astrophysicist. Then one of the important problems in neutron stars is understanding what the states of matter are in the very deep interiors. And so that was certainly a project that I worked on many years here as well. I remember around 1975, I became interested in the question of whether the ultimate end state of matter would be quark matter. And this led to several directions. One is, I talked a lot that summer with Murray Gell-Mann, who was really very, very, very supportive of the idea. And I thought that was a very lovely interaction that I had with him that summer. It was eventually the paper we wrote became a very, very, very cited paper in literature. But of course, one of the important things I think of earlier was that people tend to stay much longer. And you had time to develop relationships with people. People weren't on this 1-2 week rotation period. And also, if I may add, that was before computers entered here. And the main activity you had with people here was to talk to people, not stare at your computer screen, and discuss with people elsewhere. Another very important thing that Aspen has been quite influential in is crossing the bridge between atomic physics and condensed matter physics. The first time that cold atoms were cooled to very low temperatures and Bose condensed was in the summer of '95, actually June '95. And that summer, Chris Pethick and I were here together, and we began worrying just about describing the states of the atoms, the cloud of atoms that one has inside a Bose condensate. And that was really the beginning of both our careers in cold atoms. Chris has gone on to write a definitive book on the subject, and I've also been working on it steadily for the last 10 years. We had a number of workshops over the years here. Certainly in 1999, that Chris Pethick, Jason Ho, Andre Ruckenstein were the organizers of that. And then I was involved in organizing a workshop in 2003, or 2001, I think, and 2005. In 2003, we had a much more informal workshop where people from JILA, J-A-L-A, that's the Joint Institute for Laboratory Astrophysics at the University of Colorado in Boulder, where experimentalists came and we worked together informally that summer. But what happened here is these workshops really were a chance to bring together people from a lot of different communities. The condensed matter communities, the atomic physicists, quantum optics people, and certainly in 2005, quantum computing, quantum information people. So I think the ability of bringing different people together from different communities has done very much to create a field of sort of condensed matter called atom physics, which is really at this stage taking off. And many condensed matter physicists have gone into the cold atom field. Certainly Andre Ruckenstein for a while, Jason Ho is another person, and myself, Chris Pethick, just to name a few. Who have people who've had contact with Aspen, yeah. I remember in the summer of '71, a very nice interaction with Jeremy Bernstein and Lowell Brown, raising the question of phase transitions in the early universe. And I worked out a model, which I couldn't get it right. Eventually, I kept getting first order phase transition, so I never did anything with it. Then 2 years later, it was published by other people, still with a first order phase transition, but that was a very good lesson. The summers here have been a wonderful month for working. I remember, and for raising children at the same time, raising children to love mountains. One thing I remember was the group hikes. Sort of every Sunday, when Aspen was sufficiently small, the number of people were sufficiently few, there would be a big family hike, and everybody went on these. And it was wonderful with the kids. Kids who would never want to hike in the mountains all would suddenly rush off together to get up to the top first, or they all sat down and refused to move. The picnics were wonderful. We used to go around to different campsites. And there was just a very good, close feeling among people here. I think it did very much to form the community of theoretical physics, certainly in this country. Yeah. I actually came because David Pines suggested doing it. '67, yeah, actually I had to prepare a set of lectures that I was giving in Scotland. Mostly spent the summer preparing those, but it was a chance to interact with there was a lot of input from a lot of people that went into the lectures.
Is this a good place to write lectures or write a book? Do you know? I mean, would you say anything about that? What do you say about, this as an environment for writing a book, or is it too distracting because people?
Oh, I think probably it's too distracting now. Yeah. I think what has endured is just bringing people together, crossing paths who would not normally have a chance to do so. As I said, one comes here without any particular hat. And you just strike up interesting conversations with people, and physics comes out of it. That I think has certainly remained a constant over the years. Here, and the most important one.
Then the other aspect is how important are the mountains to what happens in the Physics Center?
I would say a combination of the mountains and the music were really what makes the atmosphere so wonderful. I mean, it's nothing like listening to a seminar on the patio while the orchestra's practicing a Mahler symphony, providing background music to the seminar.